This little drone might just change the way that we create content. For me, it already has. Instead of lugging around a camera, tripod, and setting up shots every time I ride, I can just toss this in my pocket and let it do the work. Today, I'm reviewing the HoverAir X1 Pro Max, and I'll show you why I think it can completely reshape how we capture our stories. First off, some disclosure. HoverAir did send this to me for review, but this is not a paid sponsorship. I was genuinely excited to get my hands on this thing. I've been wanting one for a while, but just couldn't justify the price. It reminds me of when Skydio drones were big. I really wanted one back then too, but the massive price tag starting at over $1,000 and going up from there was just too much. To get anything decent in a package for that, you're looking at almost $2,000. The HoverAir feels like it picked up where Skydio left off, but in a smarter way and at a much better price point. Don't get me wrong, it's still not cheap, starting at $699, but compared to Skydio, this is a lot easier to stomach. Battery life is fine, not amazing, but decent for how small and light this thing is. The HoverAir site lists 16 minutes of flight time for this little battery, and from my experience, I would say that's pretty accurate. If you do get this drone, I highly recommend picking up some extra batteries. Storage-wise, the Pro Max comes with 64 gigabytes built in, and you can expand that with a micro SD card if you want more space. Which, given that this shoots 8K footage, you're probably gonna want more space. The absolute highlight and what makes this drone really special is the follow function. You don't need the optional beacon for it to track you, which is awesome. And here's the big one. It can track you at speeds up to 26 miles per hour. That's huge for cyclists and mountain bikers. We can easily hit those speeds, especially if going downhill, and the HoverAir keeps up. The footage is also really impressive in terms of showing terrain and elevation changes. Compared to a GoPro or a chest mount, it just gives a better sense of the ride and the environment. Now, it does have some collision detection built in, but I don't rely on it too much. On one ride, this thing crashed into bushes multiple times. Luckily, it's designed to handle that. The material it's made from is tough. It just kind of bounces back after the impact. Pretty amazing to see, honestly. The one downside is the battery. It does have a tendency to pop out after a crash. It hasn't happened to me often, but my friend Robert over at the Biker channel has had it happen to him quite a bit. He actually made these neon decals to help you find the drone and battery if they get separated from the crash. I'll link to his site down below if you want to pick up a set. One thing that helped me avoid crashes is switching the flight mode from flat to high. After I did that, it stopped crashing into bushes nearly as much. Now, we do need to take something into consideration here. The reason that this drone has crashed on me so much is the fact that I'm going down at trail speed, which could be closer to 26 miles an hour. And realistically, the drone can't stop that fast. So it hitting a bush, I understand why. Now, most of the time in my testing, I've been using it in the open setting, whereas if you are in a much more like foresty area, you're definitely probably gonna wanna put it in that more tight follow function. Another standout feature is just how small and portable this thing is. It only weighs 192 grams with its folding design. It's legitimately pocketable. No exaggeration. I've tossed this in my hand-up shorts without issue. And I'm talking front pocket or back pocket. The main difference between the Pro and the Pro Max is really just the video resolution. There is an extra sensor on the Pro Max. The Pro Max does shoot in 8K while the Pro is limited to 4K. If you really want a detailed breakdown, check out Robert's comparison video. I'll also link that down below. As for image quality, the 8K footage looks fantastic. It supports log and HDR if you really want to grade your own footage. But honestly, I really like the stock look. The colors, contrast, and dynamic range are all hitting the sweet spot for me. It does come preloaded with more than 10 intelligent flight modes, and I'll be honest though, I mostly only use this thing in the cycling mode because that's where it shines for me. I also want to go over some of the accessories that HoverAir sent with the drone. Along with the X1 Pro Max itself, I got quite a bit of accessories. So let's go over those real quick. Firstly, they sent over their dual battery charger, which is just awesome. This will charge both batteries up at the same time. And along with that, it comes with a 65-watt charger, which means this is gonna charge up really quickly. In addition to the single battery that came with the drone, I also got 3 more. So that gives me 4 batteries total, which I think is kind of like the nice sweet spot for most content creators. Mine did come with this really nice case that will hold mostly everything here. There's also a separate case for the beacon and controllers. My kit came with the beacon as well as the controllers, which means I can actually control this just from this right here without actually having to use the follow function. So if I want to use it like a normal drone, I totally can. Everything just goes together magnetically, just snaps together, which is super cool. And then if you want to actually have your phone connected, you can do this, and you can put your phone right here, and then you can just fly it like a normal drone, which is awesome. You don't even need to use a phone here. You can use the built-in screen, which is a really nice touch. And I'll get back to that screen here in just a minute. The joystick nubbins just come on off super easy. You can unscrew and pull it off. The beacon is quite cool. One of my favorite features about the beacon is it has a screen on here so you can always see where your drone is. Now what I like to do is I have this little clip that it came with. It allows you to attach your beacon to a GoPro style mount. So I just put this on my handlebars like so. That way I can just glance down and double check to make sure that the drone is still behind me, because yes, it is a drone and they are loud, but when you're going down the trail, sometimes you can't even hear this thing behind you. So it is nice to have this little screen to kind of glance down to make sure that it's still following you. They don't just have this little GoPro one here, they also make this one right here, which is just a standard clip. So some of these are honestly essential, like the extra batteries. You're gonna wanna have those for sure. Others, like the beacon, are nice to have, but they're not mandatory since the drone can already track you without it. The carrying case has been handy for keeping everything together when I toss it in my bag. Overall, these extras round out the package really nice depending on how you plan to use the drone. And this is where it really hit me. This drone doesn't just replace another drone. It replaces my whole filming setup. Normally lugging around a camera bag, tripod, and a second camera just to get that additional shot. With this, I can just hit record, let it follow me, and focus on writing. For me, that's a massive shift in how I create content. Better yet, I can just tell this to stay in one spot and just hover, and it'll get me as I go down the trail like a normal camera and tripod would. While I haven't tried this, I just thought of this. One cool fact about that also is that I don't have to go back up the trail to get this. I could actually just fly it to me instead of having me go to it. So is the HoverAir X1 Pro Max perfect? No. The battery life could be longer and the collision detection isn't flawless. But for me, it changes everything about how I film. I no longer need to bring a separate camera and tripod out to the trail. Instead, I can just bring this little drone, park it anywhere I want, or let it follow me. It's smaller, lighter, and way more convenient than my old setup. And honestly, I think that's where this drone is going to make its biggest impact. It's not just about having another drone, it's about changing the way that we create content. This is Adam, the MTB Rad Dad, and you know what? I'll see you next time. I'm gonna go fly this thing around for a bit.